drawing a blank. Your name is Zach.
I know, I just wanted to do it different than I always do it.
Okay.
Like, hi guys, we're Dream EV. This is Christopher, I'm Zach.
Short and sweet. We're working on an electric powered Vanagon. Today is Friday in our shop, Wednesday for you. The start of a brand new episode, number 26?
Yes.
6.
We can't do that every time we say a number now.
Episode 26. Thanks guys for tuning in. This episode is going to be about high voltage wire management. I'm excited about that. Last episode we did some low voltage wire management and repairing the wire harness, but this time we're going straight to the big stuff. Stick around. Last time we worked on this tray, we put this switch in here for our master power cutoff switch. And I picked this spot because it looked good. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move it to the right and make a place for a fuse. That's because it seems like a good idea to have a fuse. This is our fuse holder. Bingo bingo. And here's our big old fuse. It's an A50QS 400-4. In case you were wondering.
It's a big honking fuse.
Big honking fuse. And this is going to come immediately after our main positive terminal on the battery pack. After that, it's going to go to the main power cutoff, and then from that power it's going to go all the way up to the junction box. And it's going to sit in between these two items. So this guy is going to be moved over to there. So that's the plan. We're going to get started there. Am I out already? That was incredibly fast. Let's grab another one. All right. It was only tacked on, so it's, you know, no big loss. Now we're ready for the next step. Here's that fuse and switch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do some test crimps on the heavy gauge wire to make sure all the wires route properly. Because this guy right here, he's got a little tight turn that I'm slightly concerned about. This is probably the most difficult turn we're going to deal with just because everything's so tight in this area. And this is the first one we wanted to deal with. But it looks like the fuse fits in the box. We can wiggle it in through here. It looks like the wires can connect, and it looks like there's room for the wire to keep shooting out the one way. Now, let's do this one from this positive post of the battery here, which will be the main battery positive, to this post right here. That'll be the next one, I think. All right, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold up the wire to the lug. You get a good feel for where it's going, what direction it's heading, where I need to cut it, and where I need to strip it. And that feels about good to me right there. I'm going to cut between the W and the E. And I got these big guys. These are like lineman cutters. Just grab it and spin off the housing. The sharper this tool is, the better. Just like that, it's off. Then I'm going to plug it in the hole where it needs to go. And I'm going to mark on the wire and on the lug the orientation I want it to end up in. Right, that's important. Okay. And we take our lug and wire off, and then we go over to the crimping tool. Now that I got the crimp done, what we're going to do next is we're going to get some heat shrink on here. This is a dual wall heat shrink, and what it has on the inside is it has an adhesive. And when you heat it up and it shrinks, it sticks to both your lug and your wire insulation. And then heat shrink. All right, a little bit of love and attention with the heat gun, and this heat shrink is nice and tight on the lug. And then we're ready to the other side, which is basically a copy and paste of the first steps. All right, it's transfer punch time again. Perfect. All right, that bad boy is in. So we're gonna go ahead and set this guy into its new final home, and then we're gonna keep on working, I think. All right, fuse holders in, the box for the switch is in, and we have our first two cables bent. Everything went perfect. Now what we have to do is take this positive terminal, and then we have to send it all the way up the edge of the frame rail and then back to the engine. So that will be the next step. But what we have to do is we have to keep this wire from flopping around inside this box. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and make some hat-shaped clips that will allow us to zip tie these in place along the side of our frame rails. I think Zach is over there prototyping something, so maybe we'll go pop in and see what he's doing.
So what I just got done doing is making up some prototype dies just out of plywood. Just routed a groove in one, routed a tenon in the next one so that they fit together. But there is a gap all the way around so that we can stick some aluminum in there, press it together with the press, and see how it turns out. I just got done heating that up to anneal it. It's cooling now, so once that's cooled down, we'll do a test press and just see how that turns out, and then give us a good idea of what we need to do when we make these out of metal so that they're more durable. Okay. Alright, so you can see I tried the wooden dies. I don't know what made me think that was a good idea, but I did learn a few things. So I went ahead and made the dies out of metal, and it worked out really well. I'm very happy with it. It's a very simple thing to do. Just a couple of pieces of metal with the right spacing. You crush it in a 20-ton press, and you get this very satisfying little shape. And that's what we're going to use to zip tie our cables.
While Zach was off making these little brackets for the wires, I've been doing this. Well, whatever this is. This is a flat spot for our glands to pierce through. And on the back side, we have a corresponding cutout. Our positive and negative wires will poke right through here, through those glands, out the battery box and towards the engine. good too. Yeah. Okay. Happy with that. These two holes were more difficult than they should have been. Our Christmas tree bit didn't go up to full size, so that's no fun. And then I had to waller out this with this guy. That's no fun either. And then I got to use my file. That is fun though, so I'm okay with that. But we got them to size, we got our glands in. Now I think we're about ready to run some wire, seeing as how Zach has got all his zip tie clips in. Hey, look at that. Now it's starting to look like something.
Here are positive, negative coming in. Negative peels off and goes to that first terminal on that battery right there. Positive comes on up the frame rail and goes to our master shutoff.
This is day 2, part 2, second half of the high voltage wiring episode, where we're figuring out where these big old Mongo cables go and how to make them look pretty along the way. It's a fir tree zip tie is what they call it. Got a little thingy on the end that goes into a hole. So that's fun. We'll use this for the low voltage stuff. For the high voltage stuff, we're gonna make some custom aluminum bracketry and little channels for zip ties to go around, things like that. It should be fun. Not quite sure what it's going to look like right now. So what I think we're going to do next is we're going to get this big aluminum tray up underneath the van, figure out where the glands come out, figure out how the wire management is going to look, and make some decisions. Probably some poor decisions, but we'll make them. Check this out. Look, I got a new welding helmet. So when it comes to welding helmets, you have options. You have American flags, you have bald eagles, you have flames, you have black. That's a good option. I went with orange hexagons. It turns out
not orange.
I went with yellow hexagons because hexagons are the bestigons.
You're not gonna get a welding helmet with like fairies and rainbows.
I looked really hard.
I don't want no fairies on my helmet.
Well, let's get to work. Let's do some things. Early in the morning, maybe get the caffeine flowing through our veins.
Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some tea.
Now who's got the sticky spot in their brain for songs?
Like, I never claimed to be.
I think everybody has a little sticky spot in their brain for songs.
This is what Paul must feel like. No. Well, I'm not going to say I made a mistake because that's too obvious of a statement. And the output for these wires are just not going to work in this spot without some sort of modification. Unfortunately, they shoot directly into this frame rail. So we're going to have to come up with a creative solution to resolve this problem. My genius co-host suggested that we just flip the glands around. So all that worrying I had in my head just now, not even an issue anymore.
Alright, as you can see, we have wires coming through our frame, and we are going to just turn them straight over and run them up against the bulkhead this way. But in order to do that, I need to remove this old bracket. I need to smooth over the edges of this hole on this side and on the other side. So a little bit of work to do with the grinder first. We're going to do that, and then I'll show you the brackets we're going to tack onto the bulkhead to strap these to.
Alright, well, Zach has been under the van preparing for some wire management clips. I have been preparing these pieces. What these are, this is all the parts necessary for a hatch. We're going to make a hatch underneath the battery pack fuse so that if it ever does blow one day, we have a way to get in there and change it. Everything's been wire brushed. The pieces are relatively fitting pretty well. And it should just be a matter of putting them in. But you know what they say about shoulds. No, Christopher, what do they say about shoulds? Okay, well, that's that. Okay, I'm thinking this is gonna be our next guy right here. In here somewhere now. Oh my gosh. Now we're making progress. These guys are little clips. It's just a tiny little profile on there. And that'll grab onto the lip of the switch box. Stop it. Stop focusing. Now you can focus. Now we want that guy. That's a speed nut right there. Okay, speed nut. Alright, I got my speed nut in place and it is on. Alright, there's the hatch with the bolt that secures it right next to the on-off switch hole. And if we're ever in a situation where we blow a fuse and we need to replace it, we just take this off and pop a new one in. Well, with the access panel in place, that concludes the day's work. And honestly, it might conclude this episode's work. Zach had to bail, he wasn't feeling so well. And we didn't quite get as much done today as we had hoped, but you know, no big deal. We work in the shop every Fridays and we release videos every other Wednesday. So, you know, if this is your bag of tea, come on back again. 2 weeks exactly time. So, thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you again next time. Here we go. Blown Fuse Simulator 2000. Just pop on the bottom. Open the access hatch. Remove the door. You gotta take the nuts off, that's the thing. It's a little tight down here, but I think we can make it work. Oh, there you go. And then the fuse. Oh, it's got to come out. Oh, it's out. Okay. I'm going to get a new fuse. Oh, I see new fuse. Back in the hole. Okay, look at that. Now we're making progress. Washers. Lock nuts. And these guys. If I go from the top, I lose. Okay, oh, almost there. Okay, hot. New fuse is in. Access panel. And then the nut. There you go. That's why we built that. Right there.